Am I the only one who's just been jamming out to Wave of Mutilation by the Pixies like a lot ever since they found out it was going to be in Godzilla 2? Because it's a pretty good song. What's up, everybody, men back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we are going to be doing my spoiler review. It's a bit late. We're doing my spoiler review for Godzilla King of the Monsters. I want to preface this by saying that not only is this a spoiler review, but it's not the only one that I'm going to do. I'm doing this now. Godzilla-thon will come out when the movie comes out on Blu-ray. So if you're expecting a plot by plot, you can wait a few months and then you'll get your plot by plot. This is just going to be a spoiler talk. I know I did that live stream last night where I already covered a lot of this stuff in spoilers, but I want to do a spoiler review formally and officially, so here we are. King of the Monsters. I waited 5 years just to watch Dr. Graham get snapped up and eaten out of an... Like, are you kidding me? Ugh. Yeah, I'm just jumping in with the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, you probably should have left already, because full spoilers. When I talked about in my spoiler-free review, there is something you hear before the movie even starts that made me tear up. It's the Toho Godzilla roar. Hearing that on the IMAX speakers literally sent like shivers down my whole body, and I tear up immediately. It's like that scene from Infinity War when Peter Parker's on the bus and he rolls back his sleeve right as the big donut comes into New York, and you watch all the hairs on his arms stand up. That's essentially what happened when I heard this roar, except that my eyes also teared up. Oh my god, you got me right in the feels right there. And it's not even been that long. I mean, I just watched Shin Godzilla in 2016 in theaters, and I heard the same roar. I don't know what it was that was so special about hearing it here, but oh, it's amazing. Maybe because I saw this one in IMAX, and so you could feel that roar. Really wish I could have seen this movie in Dolby, but the only theater playing in Dolby it's a 10 o'clock showing every night. That's the closest one to me that I could drive there, but it's a bit of a drive. And then the other ones that are playing Dolby like during the day, I gotta drive like 5 hours to get there, so it's not really worth it. I loved the flashback. Opening the movie on a flashback is awesome. I mean, not only because it takes the characters back, lets us know a bit of their background, but it takes me back 5 years. It takes me right back to sitting in the theater 5 years ago. I sat in the exact same theater that I watched 2014 in 5 years ago, like not only the same building, but the same auditorium, watching Godzilla King of the Monsters, seeing the halo jump from this different perspective. It's kind of like Back to the Future too, like going back in time but seeing it from a different angle. I love it. I just wanted to say I love that framing device. I'm not doing a plot by plot, but I just liked the way we opened the movie. Let's go through the humans here, because there was a lot that I wanted to say in my spoiler-free review that I couldn't, so we'll just go through my characters, not in terms of how much I liked them to how much I didn't like them, not this time. But the human story, Dr. Serizawa, we gotta talk about Dr. Serizawa. Ken Watanabe, what an amazing actor. He does such a great job in this movie. He pulls off, like I said in my spoiler-free review, the most emotional performance of this, or probably any Godzilla movie for a long time. This is the most emotional performance in any Godzilla movie for a long time. Bryan Cranston's performance in Godzilla 2014 is up there as well, but I think this tops it, because you just feel so bad for the guy. It's not as much as the original Serizawa. The original Serizawa, when he kills himself, you're like, Jesus, he really did that because he has nothing. That guy has nothing left in this world. There is nothing for him. This Serizawa, when he dies, you're like, he's doing it to save the world. He's doing it because he feels like it's his purpose, but also he's only doing it because he lost Dr. Graham, right? If she didn't die, I'm sure a soldier would have been like, no, yeah, I'm a soldier. I signed up for this. Let me go do it because this is kind of my job. I signed up for this. You know, you have G-Team, some of G-Team on that sub. They could have done it for him, but he was like, Dr. Graham is dead. He's like, I got nothing left here, so I might as well go fulfill this purpose. But it's totally different. In the original, Serizawa doesn't need to die. In this one, it's necessary for him to die, which is why the original is so tragic. But God, his death is very emotional. If I hadn't had that spoiled for me back in June last year, that would have been real painful to watch. I definitely wouldn't have enjoyed that. It would have been so heartbreaking in a good way. It would have been heartbreaking in a good way. I wouldn't have enjoyed it because I'm attached to the character. I think it's a great character. I think it's still a fantastic sequence. The song The Key to Coexistence and the song Goodbye Old Friend, they are perfect. I absolutely love them. Yeah, it's a very emotional, very impactful death. I know a lot of people have the critique that the characters move on from it too quickly, but it's because they don't have a chance to reflect. Mark Russell and his crew, they are on the sub, the nuke goes off, they are thrown out of the water, Godzilla rises up immediately afterward to fire his atomic breath, so they don't have a chance to be like, oh man, Serizawa's gone. They're just like, holy cow, we're alive and we might not be for long. They get on the Argo and immediately they're like, hey listen Sam, Serizawa's gone, let's go make him proud because we have to stop Ghidorah right now or bad things are going to happen. They don't get a moment to reflect. I'm sure afterward all of these characters are a train wreck. I mean, every single one of them has been through a lot, so every single one of these characters has a reason to be a train wreck following the events of Godzilla King of the Monsters, at least for the first few months, you know, when they're moving on from what happened. Especially I'd imagine Madison Russell, she's probably not going to be in the greatest place going forward in the Monsterverse. She's probably going to be very distraught by what happened. Let's talk about Dr. Graham a little bit because she's the one that her story is the one that angered me the most, because really, I mean, they set her up to do so much at the start. You're like, oh, she's with it, she's with Serizawa, she's on the ground team, she's going to be involved in the movie, that's going to be good to see. And then, you know, Sally Hawkins has been talking for months and months about, she's like, I really like this character. Dr. Graham's a very interesting character. I'm super happy to be revisiting her. Unlike the 2014 film, I actually get to do stuff in this one, so I'm excited about that. Well, it turns out that the stuff she gets to do is have Ghidorah snap her up off the ground and eat her immediately. That is the first thing Ghidorah does when he lays eyes on that crew. She is gone very quickly and I just feel like it's a very underwhelming death for the character. I understand that it ups the stakes, but it's not like I watched that and then went, oh wow, if she can die, that also means Mark Russell can die. It was like I watched that happen and went, Mark Russell still has his plot armor intact, he's fine, nothing's gonna happen to him. They just killed Dr. Graham unceremoniously. I don't know, that's the only aspect of this movie that really upset me when I watched it, and I didn't even know what happens. This is where my problem is. There's not enough emotional payoff for this death. Serizawa, you feel it a little bit, he's like upset, and you get it when he goes to kill himself. You're like, oh yeah, he really misses her. But everyone else is just like, she's gone, oh well. That would have been a death where you do have time after that to have the characters reflect on what happened, and they just don't. Alright, Mark Russell and Godzilla. This is probably the most interesting relationship in the movie aside from Serizawa and Godzilla. I buy it, I really do. I didn't think I would. Going into the movie, I was like, it's gonna be cheesy. He's gonna just have a sudden change of heart. He's gonna hate Godzilla and just be like, suddenly, well, might as well. We need him to fight Ghidorah. But when you watch the movie, you get it. It's a slow progression over time throughout the movie. It's not like it just happens during the call to arms scene. It slowly builds throughout the movie of him being like, okay, maybe we have to give him a shot. And then by the midpoint, he's talking to Serizawa. He's like, am I really about to go make peace with the thing that killed my son? I don't think I can do this. I'm not strong enough. Serizawa gives him the best speech of the movie. And then he's like, all right, we got to do this. We have to. And then by the ending, he's like, yes, Godzilla saved us. I really buy it. I think it's great. I understand his change of heart. And I think it's a super interesting dynamic, especially because Godzilla seems to remember him. I mean, you look at the way Godzilla looks at him on the submarine, and Godzilla's looking at him. He's not looking at the crew. Godzilla's looking at Mark Russell. He remembers him. If not from San Francisco, he at the very least remembers him from the submarine, from earlier when he swam up during the intimidation display. He at the very least remembers him from there. Emma Russell. I knew she'd be evil. This was spoiled for me going into the movie. I knew that Emma Russell was gonna be evil, and I knew she was gonna start evil. I didn't understand how evil she would be. I very much thought she was just gonna be like, I don't want to go along with this, but I will, and then Charles Dance sways her to go along with it all the way. I didn't think that it was gonna be her idea. I certainly didn't think that she was gonna go to him, and I didn't think that she was gonna release Ghidorah up until we saw it in the trailer. I knew she would be evil. I didn't know how evil she would be. I didn't know to the extent to which she would be evil, but I thought it was really interesting. I do. I think that's a super interesting direction to take the character because it's unexpected. It was a really good twist. And when you watch the movie again, you're like, Jesus, she really screws over everybody. I mean, that first scene with Mothra, when she's talking to dude from Stranger Things, the teacher, she's like, hey man, maybe you should just bounce over here. Maybe you should just head home. And he's like, no, I gotta see this. She should have been like, no, you don't understand. You gotta go. Because if she actually cared about him, but she doesn't. She's just like, oh, well, I tried. And then she knows he's gonna get killed. And it also makes sense why Madison Russell would feel comfortable flipping off Charles Dance. When I saw the movie the first time, I did not expect Madison to be evil. So when I saw the movie the first time, I was like, Jesus, she's lucky he needs her. He's lucky that he needs Emma because you don't do that to a bad guy who just kidnapped you. But anyways, I thought it was a very interesting direction to take her. I knew that she would definitely be evil, if not from the start, which I kind of had that idea because you guys told me that. You guys told me that she was always going to be kind of on that side of the fence. I just didn't know how much to the extent she would be. but I always knew by Ghidorah's reveal she would be a bad guy. I also, though, loved her redemption. This was something that I didn't expect up until towards the end of the ad campaign. The soundtrack getting released is actually what did it. It was listening to the song Redemption and me going, this song doesn't sound like a kaiju fight. This song sounds like an emotional moment. And that made me realize, oh, the character that's going to get redemption is Emma Russell. And if you listen to my videos, I don't think it was in the soundtrack review. I think it was in whichever video came after that. I talked about how I think Emma Russell is going to have this redemption moment. And she sure enough does. And I buy it. And I loved it. I thought it was great. She gets it rough though, because Ghidorah flips her car. She explodes. She's just beaten up and banged up. Ghidorah's about to kill her. And then Godzilla cooks her alive by turning into Scarlet. Oh, she just gets melted. That is brutal. I kind of wish they showed it, but it's also like, it's a PG-13 movie. You can't show that. She just has a redemption moment. We don't want to watch a hero die like that because that is a bad way to die. All right, Madison Russell. I did not expect her to be evil. That was a twist that really shocked me. I 100% expected Emma Russell to say run, her to hit the thing, and her to be talking to Madison, saying, Madison, you got to go get to your dad now, otherwise you will never have a chance. That is what I thought was going to happen. I did not think Madison Russell was going to be like, well, you're not supposed to be here, Dad, sorry. I did not think that was going to happen at all. I loved that. I thought it was really interesting. I just didn't buy it. I mean, I loved it in concept, but in execution, I don't buy that Madison Russell bought it. I don't think she bought it. I don't think she was like, yeah, no, Mom had this great plan and I'm going along with it. She is very clearly from the start of the film like, maybe not. From her first scene, she's already on the fence about this plan. So the fact that she goes along with it for so long, I'm like, no, she would have left earlier. She would have found a chance to sneak out earlier. I don't buy that she sticks around that long. I do understand her reasoning for changing sides, and that's the most believable part of her character is the fact that she would switch sides. That character, if she had stayed on her mom's side throughout the most of the movie, if she had stayed on Charles Dance's side anyways, I wouldn't have bought that at all. I'd been like, are you kidding me? But I think they do a good job setting it up early to where when her switch happens, you're like, all right, this feels natural. It's just that I think it should have happened earlier because I very much don't think she would have gone with that plan for as long as she did. Also, what did Emma tell her? Was Emma like, no, listen, we got to kill a whole bunch of other innocent children for Andrew so that he wasn't the only one that died? Why would Madison be like, yeah, that makes sense? Why did she not come to the realization earlier that, I don't think my dead kid brother would have wanted this? Feels like she needs to work on her analytical skills. Guess she's not in school, so you can't fault her on that though. All right, Jonah Alan. I love Jonah Alan. I found him to be the most interesting part of the movie. Almost. There's one, or I guess technically two other characters who I find more interesting than Jonah Alan from a human perspective, but he is definitely the one that gets the most to do compared to the other two. The other two are basically just glorified cameos. He gets a lot more to do. I find him to be incredibly interesting. He's almost like if Hannibal Chow was a bad guy from Pacific Rim. Hannibal Chow's kind of a bad guy, but not really. He is like, yeah, Hannibal Chow is a bad guy, and I think it's awesome. Charles Dance plays a great villain. I loved seeing him in this movie. I'm super excited to see him return in a post-Godzilla vs. Kong world because I don't think he's going to be in Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'm very interested to know what he's going to do with that Ghidorah head. I've got some theories that I've already covered on the channel, but I've got more that are coming up in videos down the line, so you can look forward to that. All right, my two favorite pieces of the movie, because I find it super interesting, and I hope they do more with it in the next one. Dr. Chen and Dr. Ling. I had to cut them out of my spoiler-free review because I couldn't say anything about them in my spoiler-free review, but Dr. Chen is one of my favorite characters in the movie. I just cut them out because I had nothing to say on a spoiler-free basis, because the most interesting thing is they're the Mothra twins. It's the Shoujin. I tweeted Michael Doherty yesterday, and he tweeted me back officially confirming that they do have a magical connection to Mothra. It's not just some sort of, oh yeah, they like her. It's like, no, there is a legitimate mystical connection between them. He didn't say that there was a telepathic connection, but he says there is a connection in regards to my tweet where I asked him if they have telepathy and can communicate with Mothra. So they are definitely this continuity's version of the Shoujin. That's not a secret. I mean, we knew that because it's basically explained to us in the movie, but I think it's super interesting that we're seeing this done in the MonsterVerse. If you read the end credits, it talks about certain characters, it doesn't say which characters, but it talks about certain characters being able to form telepathic communication with the Titans. There we go. I mean, it's there. They are the Shoujin. It was set up in Skull Island Birth of Kong. The dude drinks the red berry juice on Skull Island and boom, he starts having telepathic visions and he gets powers. So it's already in the MonsterVerse. You know, I always talk about the MonsterVerse needs to remain realistic, and I very much stand by that point. But this is a very subtle way to do what they're doing with it, with the telepathy. It's very subtle and not in your face. It's not like they're Charles Xavier, you know? So I think it works. I absolutely think it works this way. I really hope both characters are in Godzilla vs. Kong, and I really hope both characters have a lot to do in that movie. Let's talk about the Oxygen Destroyer. It was underused used. It was wasted, honestly, in my opinion. It just could have been done better. I mean, Michael Dougherty hyped it up. He said the Oxygen Destroyer plays a huge part in this film, and I thought that what was going to happen was we were going to have Dr. Serizawa have this experimental device that he built. I mean, it would be a little out of character for this version of Serizawa, who's a biologist, to suddenly have this big weapon that he would have definitely needed to be a chemist to make, but we don't actually know what he studied. Even the Monarch website says he's a mysterious guy. No one actually knows how smart he is. So he could have come in with the Oxygen Destroyer, been like, hey, listen, I built this thing, and I gotta go detonate it next to Godzilla to send him into nuclear meltdown so that his body kicks into high gear. That way he can fight Ghidorah. I would have much more preferred that than blow up a nuke in Godzilla's face and destroy his home, basically. So I think they wasted the Oxygen Destroyer. It's basically a cameo. I would have liked to see more from it, and I hope that it returns in the future because they do say it's a prototype. So maybe in the future they will come out with the classic Oxygen Destroyer and be like, yeah, we're gonna kill all the Titans. We're gonna destroy all monsters, so to speak. We just need them gone. That'd be a really interesting way to use that device. One of the coolest things about this movie is the continuity between all the previous MonsterVerse films. The fact that Earth has failed to rebound from the previous attacks is incredibly interesting. Normally in Godzilla movies, you have Godzilla destroy a city. The next movie, the city's back. They don't even hardly ever address it. I mean, in the Showa movies, they almost never address it. Sometimes they're like, yeah, we had to move the capital to Osaka. You know, I'm thinking of Godzilla Raids again. They're like, Tokyo's gone, so we moved to Osaka, and then Godzilla shows up in Osaka, and they're like, oh shoot. Usually in the Showa Godzilla movies, they rarely ever address it. In the Heisei Godzilla movies, they're like, yeah, we rebuilt real quick. And then the Millennium movies, they don't really get a chance to address it, but when they finally do, it's in Tokyo SOS, and they're like, hey, we gotta get Godzilla back to this point because it's still in construction from his last fight. So if he fights here again, he's not gonna be destroying that much stuff. He's just gonna be basically breaking what we're rebuilding. You watch this movie and they're like, no, we didn't even rebuild. Godzilla's radioactive and he just destroyed everything. When he walks through an area, you can't rebuild because it's radioactive now. Really interesting. I absolutely love that. I mean, that kind of means that every character who gets in proximity of him is going to die from radiation poisoning, but his radiation is different, I guess. His radiation brings life, not takes it away. It's not like the bad kind, I suppose. It's some sort of made up, magical, good kind of radiation that just imbues the world with life. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool seeing the fact that they're like, yep, there is no such thing as San Francisco anymore. There is no Las Vegas anymore, and there is no Jinjura, Japan. It is gone. It is just overgrowth now. I think that's really interesting. I guess that means there's no Boston anymore either. I got a little side note here. The moment when Godzilla leads the military into battle in the Battle of Boston with the Ifukube music playing in the background is the coolest thing in the entire world. It's right up there with Godzilla firing his atomic breath into the sky while the Ifukube music swells. Those two moments are amazing, and the fact that you get the Godzilla theme returning to its 54 use as a military march is the coolest thing ever. Let's talk about the kaiju because we've already spent a lot of time talking about everything else. Let's talk about the kaiju. Godzilla. You feel how powerful he is in this movie. He feels really powerful in this movie. I love it. You buy how strong he is. It's great. I love that they explain that this Godzilla has a personal background with Ghidorah. It's not just some species of Godzilla has fought Ghidorah before. It's that this Godzilla has fought Ghidorah before. It makes this fight a lot more personal, and it's just real cool because it's not Godzilla beating down on a dragon. It is his old rival. It's also a really cool way of pointing out that Godzilla should be king, but the reason he isn't is because this space god fell from the stars and took over. I think it was a pretty interesting decision to kill Godzilla fairly early into the movie. It's a weird move because it's not handled as emotionally as it should be. You don't even know if he's actually dead or not. They never do a great job of explaining it, so I think that could have been done better. Having Godzilla turn into what we'll call Super Godzilla after Serizawa charges him up, that was pretty sweet. It's pretty amazing seeing a very pissed off supercharged Godzilla running around Boston. I worry about Godzilla because I'm like, his home is gone now. Serizawa just blew that thing up. Where's he gonna go to recharge now? He's got nowhere, I'd assume. And then Scarlet Godzilla at the end of the movie. So damn good. I loved it. I loved the way he melted everything around him. It's very reminiscent of City on the Edge of Battle. I would have loved this more if it was not spoiled for me, but it's super cool to see. I'm glad he didn't have the red atomic breath. I think they're saving that for Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm glad he didn't have that. I like the atomic pulse. It was real cool to see brought back into the movie. And then Ghidorah. Oh man, you truly feel that this Ghidorah should not be on this planet. It's awesome. The fact that they just outright tell you that he's an alien as well, I did not expect them to do. I thought they would hint to it, but it has been something I have wanted ever since 2015 when I did my first 15 things that need to happen in Godzilla 2. I've always wanted this Ghidorah to be an alien. I was so glad when they were like, no, this thing fell from the stars and it is an alien. I was like, oh, we're going there. That's awesome. I love seeing Ghidorah take charge in a fight for once. Usually he gets his butt handed to him. Ghidorah is a character that has never actually won a fight, so it was cool to see him actually get the chance to do that here. I mean, he never officially wins any of his fights with Godzilla, but he pretty much does. And he beats Rodan, so it's a victory for him on that level. I could have done with Ghidorah being a little bit stronger. I would have liked to feel a little bit more worried for Godzilla during the fight in Antarctica and the fight in the ocean, but it was still cool to see. And I think the different personalities are great. I'm not totally sure what the right head's personality is supposed to be. I think he's just a little more aggressive than the other ones. The middle head is clearly the leader. He's the thinker. He's the strategist. And then you have the left head, which is the dopey head, aka Kevin. And I love the left head. He's hilarious. He's so funny. I love when he gets distracted in Antarctica and starts licking the ground and starts like sniffing up on the humans. And then the center head has to come in and bite him and pull him back into the fight. That's great. The regeneration is also really cool. It cements this Ghidorah as much more powerful than previous incarnations of the character. So that was a really interesting aspect of the character that I wish wasn't spoiled for me, but was. And then the storms. They were a bit overwhelming, and I don't think that they make for the most visually appealing fights. From a conceptual level, it is cool that Ghidorah has that sort of power. I don't know, I like the daytime battles a little more than I like the dark, stormy nighttime battles. That's just me, though. Mothra is the damn queen. I love Mothra. She is definitely the show stealer for me in this movie. She's so powerful. I'm a full Mothra fanboy after watching Godzilla King of the Monsters. I love seeing her throw herself into the action. She really gets physical in this movie, and she never really does that because she never really can before, but I loved it. And I really buy her connection to Godzilla too. It's like the two of them, they are friends. You get it. They are friends. If you're gonna be one of those weird people that ships them and wants them to be more than friends, get out of my comment section. I want to hear that. I just like the idea that they're friends and that they are willing to die for one another. I love that. And I loved her sacrifice too. It was so predictable because it's Mothra, but I think they handled it really well. Great job with that. But then you have Rodan. You're a little coward, Rodan. I personally don't like you in this movie. I wish he had some agency to him. I wish we got the sense that he was supposed to be one of the top tier monsters, you know? Maybe have Rodan fly off and fight one of like Baphomet. Have Rodan fight Baphomet and win in a fight. Have Rodan do something. Maybe have him kick Methuselah's butt or Scylla or anybody, Behemoth. I don't care. Just make Rodan fight someone and win so that we go, okay, yeah, Rodan is a force to be reckoned with. That makes Ghidorah look that much more powerful. But no, you don't do that. You just have Rodan get his butt handed to him immediately. Literally immediately. He barely holds his own in that fight. That moment when Ghidorah bites onto his wings and stretches him out and then lightning breaths him with the center head is so damn cool. Everyone's saying Ghidorah needs arms. He just proved right there that he absolutely does not need arms to be menacing. And if Ghidorah wanted to, I think he could have bit down on those wings and just torn them right off. Jesus, that was an incredible move. But I don't buy it. I don't buy that Rodan is supposed to be in the final fight. I just think he's there because he was fast enough to keep up with Ghidorah, but he literally gets his butt handed to him by Ghidorah immediately. He then tags around with Ghidorah being like, hey, do you love me now? I'm sorry, I tried to fight you. After Godzilla kills Ghidorah, he's like, sorry, bows to him like, get up, Rodan. Godzilla should have tail swacked him on out of there. And that final moment where all the monsters bow to Godzilla, I do really like that moment. I know a lot of people don't, but I personally really like it. And I failed to mention it earlier, but Godzilla's fatalities on Ghidorah, he gets a triple fatality. He does the atomic pulse 3 times, vaporizes 2 of Ghidorah's heads. He stomps in Ghidorah's chest cavity and explodes his body, and then he reverse kiss of deaths Ghidorah's center head. Even though it was a triple fatality, and I do think it's pretty cool, I don't think it's as cool as the actual kiss of death from 2014. Anyways, back to Rodan. I want to say that although I'm not a big Rodan fan in this movie, I just think he's a bit too weak. He does have one of the greatest sequences in this movie, and probably the greatest Rodan sequence of all time. That moment when he comes out of the volcano is such an exciting scene. It is awesome. I love it. You really feel how powerful Rodan is, even if the score doesn't make you feel that as much as I'd like it to. You really feel how powerful Rodan is. It's a fantastic destruction scene. I love it because it's in the daytime. The aerial dogfight is so fun to watch. It is definitely one for the ages in the Godzilla franchise, and that ultra barrel roll that he does is amazing. One thing that I've seen a lot of complaints with that I personally am okay with is cutting away every 5 seconds during the monster fight in the Battle of Boston. I'm okay with it. I get why they did it, is because they wanted you to feel like you're down there in the action, so I understand why they did it. And if you don't like it, we've got 65 years of Godzilla that you can fall back on where they've done other stuff. You know, you've seen the full fights before, so we've seen it all. I really like the chaos of the final fight. The only thing that I would say is I wish we had a balance of running around through the city like that with the POV and actually pulling back to watch the fight. I wish there was a bit more of a balance, maybe extend the fight so that we can get to see it better, and maybe make it a little less dark so that it's not distracting, maybe make it a little brighter, but all the monsters are glowing so you can still see what's happening. I think it's a really cool ending fight, although I understand where the complaint comes from. I'm not saying I don't get it. I 100% get why people are upset about it, and I do agree to an extent. I would have liked to see that fight happen all the way pulled back, actually get to watch them battle. But again, we have 65 years of Godzilla. Something new every now and then is not going to ruin the franchise, you know? And that does it for my spoiler review of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time. D-Man, out.